Divas, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking part in the mid-year book freakout tag. This is my inaugural mid-year book freakout tag. I am going to be completely honest. I don't know quite what I'm getting myself into or what I did get myself into. I got this list of questions specifically from Savage Reads. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm so excited. Yeah, this is like such a wild and crazy thing that happens over here, and I think I'm obsessed. This is like so much fun. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a single title for all of the questions. Sometimes I have multiple books, and like I don't know. That's me. That's my 100%. I don't there's nothing else I could have done. I couldn't whittle some of them down. So let's go on this journey together, okay? So the first question is, how has your reading year been so far? Loved. It's actually been great. I feel like last year I hit a huge slump in like the middle of the year, and Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst actually pulled me out of it and like got me like set right again for the last half of the year. But this year has been great, and I don't know exactly why. I've attributed some of it to reading of more backlist titles that have been on my TBR for like ages and ages, and like TBR big quotes, right? Just like books on the backlist that I've wanted to read for a long time, and I've been really proactive and intentional about integrating them. So maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know, but like it's been fire. I made a note here that said it's been slower than I want, which is not true. I think my goal for the year was 52 books, and I think I'm at 70 or over 70 now. So like that's not really factually accurate, but I think I'm feeling a little slower in the month of July, which is interesting, and I'll make a video on that. But 30,000 foot view from like a reading perspective, the year has been fire. Okay. Now this is Sophie's choice. What is the best book you've read so far this year? Now, what I should have done was like split these up into categories and then talked about my favorite books from that perspective. But instead, I just put like, I pulled the top four, and like, listen, it could change later. It could change but before the video ends, okay? But like right now, four of my favorite reads: Under the Eye of the Big Bird. I loved it. It was shortlisted for the International Booker. It was my favorite to win. That is Small Boat. It doesn't really make sense until the penultimate chapter, and then everything comes into like a crystal clear, sharp focus, and it becomes like vibrantly apparent how brilliant the author is. I have not read any of their other work, and I have to now. I loved this work. And if you all have become acquainted with my channel at all, like you'll know that I love translated literature, and this is like one of the reasons why. Like the book's just brilliant. One of my other favorites was The Impusium. Again, you got to commit to the whole work, but once you get to the end, it all comes into focus, and it's so brilliant. And it's really this like exploration about learning to love ourselves and like identity. And I think right now with everything going on, it's actually a very important work. I'm a little bummed that it didn't get like all the like acclaim that I think it deserves. But anyways, I loved this. I need to at some point return to her Books of Jacob. But it's like, if the other ones are a honker and a half, that one's like an actual tome. But I have started it and I did enjoy it. So like that. And then what was the one she's like really famous for? The roll your plow over the bones, or the bones and the plows, and the, what is it? You all probably know. You're probably saying it right now as you're at home. And I don't have the title here, but yeah. Anyways, the plows and the bones. I'll put it here. One of my other favorites was Fox by Joyce Carol Oates. Y'all, I loved it for many reasons. I think that she epically crafted a very complex character, a character that is filled with dimension, and like I think it was very easy to get seduced by this character and also see his evil at the same time. It was great. And what I loved about it too was, first of all 650 pages were necessary. I know, and normally 10 toes on the ground, if it's over 400 pages, at least 50 to 250 pages can be edited out depending on how long it is, right? And I felt all 650 were necessary. I also felt that whenever she did something that made me roll my eyes, in less than 30 pages, she showed me how much smarter she was than I am. And she like set the story in a way that was like, yeah, we had to do that because of X, Y, and Z. Like, would you just chill out and like read the book? It was great. And it kept me going all the way to the end, right? There's like a mystery involved and like you do not figure it out until the end or do not have it exposed to you until the end. Loved. And then y'all, and I'm loving my honkers this year. The corrections. I loved this book. I am reading this on my quest to read the New York, or I read this because I am on a quest to read the New York Times top 10 books of the 21st century. And this is on that list. I loved it. The way Jonathan Franzen writes dialogue should be studied. I don't know why he doesn't write on every television show that's ever existed ever. Also, like, has he ever written for television? I need to Google that. But like, he should. Maybe he doesn't want to. But like, the dialogue is brilliant. The dialogue is enviable. Every author should study the way he writes dialogue. It's so natural. It's just, I loved it. I will say there was the one storyline with like the brother. I don't think I'm spoiling anything. It's been out for 110 years, but not really. But there's one brother storyline where he like goes off to a foreign country, which I forget now, as like kind of like a get rich thing. That kind of jumped the shark a little bit for me. But I loved the book. It didn't take away from how much I loved it, which is wild, right? Especially because I think it takes a hot minute to get through Franzen. I think that Franzen kind of like slowly takes us through the journey, right? This isn't like jam-packed, like you're racing through to the end. How many pages? Yeah, like 560, 570. Yeah, I really loved it. Loved. Okay, so those in and around are the four of my favorites from this year, which I think is fair. Gun to head, I would probably. I read a lot of good books this year, but yes, I'm sticking strong. Okay, what is the best sequel you've read? It's not like it's sequel in terms of it was the third book in the series, but I loved the third book of Crazy Rich Asians. I listened to it on audiobook and I thought it was great. I loved the first one. I thought the second one, it tried to do too much. It would have been a great television show. And I think they should make it one. But yeah, I think it did a little too much. But the third one I thought was truly lovely. So much fun. It captured a little bit more of the spirit, I think, of the first one. It was great. Otherwise, I don't really read too many series. It's just not my reading style. New release you've not read yet, but want to. Okay. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. This one is on my like stack of books that I'm trying to get through for July. And I really have to. I told a couple of people I would read it, but I'm having a hard time focusing with my reading this month for some reason. And so I'm doing everything I can to get to it, but I've heard great things. I'm really excited to get to it. Based on like all of the hubbub, I also feel, well, we'll do a National Book Award like predictions, but I could see a world where it tap dances into that space just based on things people are saying. But yeah, so this one I'm super excited about. And also I went on an interesting journey about like really wanting to read it and then kind of falling off and then getting excited about it again. But Good Girl, I'm really excited about it. And I know it was I think shortlisted for the Women's Prize, and yeah, I've heard really great things from people who've read it, and I love the premise. It sounds like really exciting. Some girl, I think she's in Germany, and she goes on this kind of like drug-addled, like finding herself. Yeah, Berlin's artistic underground, where techno and drugs fill warehouses, still pockmarked from the wars of the 20th century. 19-year-old Neela at last finds her tribe. Great. It sounds so fun, especially if it's written well. Live. So those are the two new releases that I've not yet gotten to, but I'm really excited about. My most anticipated release for the second half of the year, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I need a good love story, and I need like one of those kind of epic love stories that just like pulls at your heartstrings. It's really written with like a capital L literature vibe to it. So yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to. Okay. What was the biggest disappointment of the year so far? Y'all, Summer House. And I feel bad because I wanted to love this. I thought it was going to be the perfect foil. I think I was reading Henry at the same time. And I thought, like, Henry moved a little slowly. I thought this would be the perfect foil to it. It moved just as slowly as the other one. Like, what do you, it's translated literature, so I thought I would love it. And also the book jacket, like, really made me think it was just, we're boiling over with black humor, a political statement about supporting gay wrongs. And then they talked about these anti-heroes who are like Tom Ripley's grandfathers. I am still waiting for those promises to be paid out. It just wasn't my jam. It was just bummed me out because I was ready to love it. I loved it before I opened it. And maybe I set myself up for failure, but it kind of felt like one of those like Netflix shows where there's like some intrigue and a little bit of like maybe murder and it moves real slowly at times, and you're kind of like disappointed because you're like, oh well, I thought we would get a little bit more action here, right? And like dips in the middle. That's kind of how it felt, but like there were too many dips. And the ending was exciting, but again, like it wasn't enough to make up for it. Okay, what is the biggest surprise of the year so far? Okay, I had a couple. Harriet Tubman live in concert. Listen, I am friends with Bob's editor on the Instagrams, and I reached out and I was like, listen, is there any way I could get an advanced reader copy? Because I love Bob. I went to Bob's drag shows before they were on Drag Race here in the city. I love Bob. My friend has like taken photos of Bob like through the years. Loved him on Drag Race, and I was so excited to see what they would do because I just love their like creative brain. It delivered and tenfold. I loved this book, and I think you should pick it up. I'm just shouting its praises. The premise is cuckoo cuckoo, but the way it is handled, brilliant, expertly. Like, so I'm obsessed. I'm genuinely. What were biggest surprise of the year so far? Oh, Junie. I loved this. And again, the premise, it's like, I think speculative historical fiction, and it mentions like a ghost story. And so I was like really on the fence about like, how are we going to deliver that? And one of the main reasons I picked it up was because I picked it up during February. And it was Good Morning America was the only book club that was featuring a book by a Black author in February. And I was incensed. And honestly, one of the main reasons I read it was just as an act of like supporting the Good Morning America book club, because I was like, how dare these other ones not choose a Black author during February? It was astounding to me. So that's the main reason I picked it up, to be honest. Because some of the premise made me a little like, oh, we'll see. I loved it. And actually, Erin's TikToks are really lovely. So if you all are on that app, I would highly suggest going to follow her. It's delightful. It's a hard story, but there's like so much propulsion through it. I feel like she really just like drives you all the way to the end, but it's so well written and it's introspective, and like the story itself is so great. And all the ghost stuff I was nervous about, like not an issue, and in fact handled so well. I was like fully bought in. So yeah. Surprise of the year. Oh, also the corrections. So the first Franzen I ever read was Crossroads. I know I'm late to the Franzen game. I know. So Crossroads was the first one. Oh, but I am reading Freedom, I think later this year, if I can get to it. That feels like a December read, right? When it's like cold and like nobody wants to go outside, I'll read Freedom, like cuddled up in my little reading nook. So Crossroads was the first one I read, and it was like a little tricky to get through because of all the religious trauma. It's like about this like pastor and like a youth pastor and a youth group. I think Crossroads is the name of the youth group. It's been a hot minute since I read it. And I grew up in the United States of Texas, so it was like tricky, but I also loved his writing. So like, but I was excited to get to the corrections, but I was a little like, we'll see, because again, Crossroads was just like a complicated reading experience because of all the baggage I was bringing into it. And Crossroads blew me off my, like, off my feet. Like, I think it might be one of my favorite books. It was just the crafting of it was just so good. It's like the craft of writing. I was just blown away by it. Yeah. So those are my biggest surprises so far. My new favorite author. Uh, oh wait, biggest surprises of the year. Oh, also, sorry, Flesh. So a colleague of mine called named this thing the bookstore fairy, and it's when you go into a bookstore and just like a random book will call to you, and sometimes you just need to trust the bookstore fairy, and you pick up the book and you go home. And Flesh was a bookstore fairy pick for me from, I think it was Elliott Bay in Seattle. I was there on a work trip, and it called to me, so I said, "Sure, let's do it." Huge surprise. I've never read this author before. I loved the sparse prose. It almost even like mimics an Apple Core a little bit if we're like really looking for it. You know what I mean? But I just thought that the sparseness was just brilliant, and I thought it was so brilliant the way that a male, and in this case a straight male, was portrayed, and portrayed in such a way that I thought was so authentic and unique and engaging and intriguing, with the distance that was forced between us and the character. I really was very, very impressed by this book. And in fact, that one probably should be in one of my favorite books of the year. See, listen, already changing my mind. I can't. But that was a big surprise for me because, yeah, bookstore fairy. No? Okay. Who is my new favorite author? Ishiguro. I know. I'm late to the party. But listen, I read Never Let Me Go this year. I read Clara and the Sun. I'm absolutely reading Remains of the Day later this year. I love it. I love their writing. I think that they're an expert at breadcrumbing, like a twist or breadcrumbing a reveal. Which you could argue then just like plot. Like their plot, I think, is brilliant. I love Ishiguro. Okay. Who's my fictional crush? Okay, I don't normally read like that, to be fair. But there was a character in Stag Dance that really, yeah. So I'm not going to say which one. I'm not, but there was a character in Stag Dance that really, I was like, oh, fascinating. And it was a weird, like, tied up in like seeing oneself, but also being attracted, but also it was a lot. But there was a character in Stag Dance that I would be the closest thing that I would like say is a crush in my reading this year. Yeah. What is your new favorite fictional character? Oh my gosh. Okay. Winifred Naughty in Victorian Psycho. Y'all, and for all the wrong reasons. Like, she is unhinged. She is Crazy Town USA. This could be one of my favorite books of the year. The way it's written is so incredible. She's so funny. It's so dark. She's so horrible. But like, yes, queen. I loved it. Oh my God. It makes me giggle just thinking about it. I cannot wait to read. I'm reading Miss March, which is another one of the author's books in October. I cannot wait. She's my favorite character. I loved it. The way she was written was just brilliant. Brilliant. A book that made you cry. Which one hasn't? I feel like I'm very in touch with my emotions when I'm reading. I feel like tears come easily and naturally. So yeah. But one for sure was Things in Nature Merely Grow. This is a really tricky book to talk about. The author had two children who both unalived themselves, and this is in response to the second one. It's just it's hard to explain. It's just wildly beautiful, and that one was really hard, and that one was really beautiful. Yeah. The other one was Tin Man, which I fully blame every tier on Savage Reads for this. Um, this was in their video about I think their top books from the last several years. This was included in that list, so I was like, okay, I have to pick it up. That and My Government Means to Kill Me by Rashid Newson, which read that. Hello. First of all, just you should. Also, Simon's taste is exquisite. So like, I don't think I'm a huge dummy. There's like one or two wrinkles in my brain, right? So like, there's some kind of taste floating around. But like, read the book. Uh, anyways, so I got this suggestion from that list. It was like obtusely on my radar, but that really cinched the deal. And like, yeah, I cried so much. I think it's really beautiful. I loved it. Okay, what is a book that made you happy? And I don't care that it's in multiple categories, but it's Harriet Tubman live in concert. It just made me happy. There's a lot of things that aren't happy in it, and a lot of things that are deeply introspective and deeply like serious. But it made me happy. It just had a jovial quality to it, and it didn't take itself too seriously, but was like really intelligent. I mean, it's Bob's drag, right? I don't think Bob takes themselves too seriously, but they're also hyper intelligent. It's that in a book form. Like, made me so happy. What is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? I went back and forth on a lot of this. I love the Hunchback cover. I really do. And also, like, what does it mean most beautiful? Like, I would argue that like things in nature merely grow like as a work, as the literature, as like the product is beautiful. Do we mean the cover maybe Hunchback, but you could also make an argument that from like a beauty standpoint, I also thought this book was beautiful, and the questions that it asks us about what does it mean to be alive, love. um what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Girl, the limit does not exist. I don't. I am my like because I got behind on some of the books that I had intended to read in other months. Like my TBR is just piling up. I want to read Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. I want to read Shuggie Bain. I want to read. They're all like stacked over here. Oh, The Dream Hotel, The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. I also need to get through the last half of the New York Times top 10 books of the 21st century. I also, what am I? The Line of Beauty, I'm halfway through. The Buffalo Hunter, I'm halfway through. And like the limit does not exist. I'm also, yeah, that's and I'm really excited for my October TBR, to be honest. I'm gonna read, I think I read it a long time ago, but it might be a reread or not, I don't remember. But Gone Girl, I love Gillian Flynn. And I don't think I read Gone Girl, and I saw her interview Joyce Carol Oates for Fox, and I was like, oh, let's pick up Gone Girl. Oh, We Were the Mulvaneys. Oh, there's a whole bunch down here. Dream Money, Same Bed, Different Dreams, lots of dreams. I need to stop listing. I could really go on all day. For October, I also want to read Wicked. I think it'd be fun. I think I read it when I was like when it first came out, when I was like very young, like just so young. But I want to read that again. I also want to read Carrie. I've never read it, and like so excited for that. And then Miss March, by Virginia Fato, the one who wrote Victorian Psycho. Yeah. Anyways, I could go on and on, but those are just like some of the dozen titles. So then the final question is, any plans for the rest of your reading year ahead? So, I mean, I kind of gave like I think a big window into some of the titles, but in an ideal world, I would like to read the long list for the Booker and the long list for the National Book Award. We'll see. Listen, ideally, I will have read some from the list already. We'll see if that ends up being true or not. But yeah, in an ideal world, I will read both those long lists. But we'll see. Simon and I are talking about something, so we'll see. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But yeah, maybe the long list for the Booker, maybe the long list for the National Book Award. I don't know. But yeah, This was so much fun and so wild. This mid-year book freakout tag here on YouTube. I, I, have you all done this before? Is this? I don't know. I love this. This is so fun. Is there an end of year freakout tag? I hope so. Is there a beginning of the year freakout tag? I have so many questions. I need to I need to text people. I need to find this out. Okay. I think that this is fun. I'll put the questions down below. I would love for you all to put your answers in the comments. If not, tag me in your videos because I want to come see what yours are. This has been so much fun watching everyone's answers to these because I think they're all so vastly different. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining me on this journey, and we'll be back next week.